that is a member of the NCAA has to have a full-time faculty member as a representative to the NCAA. And this person is supposed to be the primary liaison between the academic mission of the campus and the athletic mission of the campus. This person, reports directly to the chancellor, but works closely with athletics to make sure that athletics is maintained on campus as a component of the educational program, and that student athletes constitute an integral part of the student body. I do a huge amount of things. There's a website, and I'm not going to go through all of them. But one of the things that I'm primarily involved in is student-athlete welfare. So academic integrity, student-athlete welfare. So that's one of the reasons that's in that role that I'm here talking to you today. It's in that role that I've been involved in this whole process, as elimination of sports teams is definitely something that affects student-athlete welfare. Okay, so the student-athletes here have asked me 3 questions. And I'm going to answer those, and then if there's time, I'll answer any other questions you have. The first question was, why did I resign from the ICA work group? I was a member of the 8-person work group that Nona spoke about that was charged with reviewing the proposals that came from athletics and was to put together a recommendation that went to the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs. I felt at the end of the process, when the report was put together, that I could not, with any certainty, agree that the proposal that was included there was the best option that could be developed to resolve the budget problems. It may have been, but I couldn't feel certain of that. The reason was, just as Nona said, the work group was set up to only look at what was given to it. We were not allowed to ask for proposals. We were not allowed to make recommendations. We were not allowed to be involved in the process. That was not our charge. But because we were set up that way, there were a lot of additional proposals, possible proposals, that we would like to see that we never got to see. And so not having seen those other proposals, in particular, we never saw a proposal that included all 27 sports teams. And because we didn't see that, we couldn't say with any sort of confidence that that proposal wouldn't have worked, and that the proposal that went forward was the best. And even though the report, if you read it carefully, is very careful to say that there's much hesitation and some disagreements about it, I believe that the audience who read the report, and especially people who just read the press releases, would misperceive what the work group did. And it's pretty clear in talking to people that there is the perception that the work group did in fact get involved, collaborate, look at things, check things, verify things. None of that happened. Really, we looked at what was given to us, we asked questions, but we were not allowed to ask for proposals and or make recommendations. And in very, very many cases, we were told that we had to rely on good faith trust, that what was given to us had been vetted and was the appropriate thing to be done. So we really didn't have a chance to check any of it ourselves. Because of those 2 reasons, myself and the other faculty member, Leslie Lyons, professor of vet med, decided that we felt that the report misrepresented what we had been able to do, and we didn't want to be associated with that and let people feel like a very consultative process happened when we really felt it wasn't. And it wasn't set up to be that way. Vice Chancellor Wood very, very clearly says he did not set it up to be a collaborative process, and he set it up to be a review process. One of the things that I think is part of the misperception is that there was a lot of discussion about there have been 20 models looked at. We only saw 1 model. So 20 models maybe were looked at by athletics, but we saw 1. And so those are the kinds of misperceptions I think that are out there that we didn't want to be associated with. Second, what are the underlying values at UC Davis that have traditionally guided decisions in intercollegiate athletics? UC Davis has a long history of shared governance on this campus. I know the president of the UCD would attest to that. The students have been involved in referendum in the past many times. And this sort of shared oversight is evident in many of the advisory committees. There's over 15 advisory committees to the chancellor. One of those is the Athletics Administrative Advisory Committee that involves students, faculty, staff, and members of the athletic department as ex officio members. And they are an oversight committee. They provide recommendations. They're not decision makers. But the notion is that this is an important part of who we are at UC Davis. In fact, the very first paragraph of our 2006 certification self-study to the NCAA included a mention of shared governance as being important. The self-study also outlined a consultative process that would be typically used in making major decisions such as cutting sports, and that process outlined that proposals that were made by athletics to the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs should be developed after consultation with relevant groups such as the Athletics Administrative Advisory Committee, the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, and the Coaches Advisory Committee. So that consultative process and shared governance is something that we've written about, that's included in a lot of our documents that we talk about. It's certainly part of our history. The last question is, do you think that the administration can change the current plan to cut sports teams? And, you know, that's really a question for the chancellor, right? I'm not the person to answer that. I do believe that the chancellor and the senior management group of athletics really do want what's best for the university and for the students. I do think that underneath it all, they really do want what's best. But this process has been rushed. There have been mistakes that have been made, in my opinion, and I think that we haven't explored all of the viable solutions. So I would suggest to you all to approach them with viable solutions for changing their plans and see what they say. I encourage you to do so. Website out there if you want to get in touch with me or see anything else about what we do and the Athletics Administrative Advisory Committee. But I can take any questions if we have time or not. Yeah. We have time for a couple, so does anybody have a question? Maybe not. Everything's clear. Yes, sir.